got you. You thought I wasn't here, but I am. That's not a still picture of me. That's just me screwing around. Hey, everybody. And Joe's like, okay, I'm just going to reach for that cup of coffee, take a sip, because here it comes. Welcome, everybody, to this week's AMA. And yes, I am really, really happy to be back here and live. And of course, with me, I have the dynamic duo, Joe Armeanio, and the man you know and love, Kushti, Alex, both joining the AMA today. Say hi to everybody, guys.
Hi, everyone. My pleasure to be here again.
And Joe's kind of like, just one more cup of coffee, and I'll be fully vertical again.
Yep. Well, it's good to be here, everybody. Looking forward to discuss whatever comes up.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's start with some updates. I mean, you guys might have been seeing some of the updates that have been coming out from my end. Well, first and foremost, obviously, it's the MOU deal that we signed through Zengate to work with the Sri Lankan tea factories, which the Sri Lankan Tea Factory Association actually makes up, I think, for the bulk of all tea factories and plantations in Sri Lanka. And so this is the industry. It's one of the industries. It's the first industry that's going to be utilizing the Palmyra platform, which uses Ergo. It's built using Ergo NFTs, as well as other Ergo tech. So there you go. We're starting with some national level adoption. The Sri Lankan tea industries is a multi-billion-dollar industry, and I'm just really, really happy and psyched about being able to be able to use Ergo the way I'd like to in this project, because the control that I have over what happens to the platform. That's super exciting. Of course, there's more. Aside from the Sri Lankan news, I'm going to have some more stuff coming out of Zengate regarding Palmyra in the next few days. In about a week, I would say, is when it's actually going to come out. So more exciting Ergo mass adoption happening. And the program that I've been mentioning, the educational content, again, utilizing Ergo for training businesses or business people to use blockchain is also going to be happening in the next couple of weeks. So I'm going to be giving details about that. On top of that, actually have potentially created some contacts and, potentially could lead to a partnership with another major university there's actually going to be taking a more technical part of the education curriculum more into Ergo script and Scala. And so we're going to be designing a course around that for the more advanced Ergo user and Ergo developer. So again, that's really, really exciting. I just started yesterday, so give me a little bit of runway, but it's really promising. Aside from that, still having conversations with various exchanges. There's some movement, but it's things are slowing down for the holidays. So I can only shake people up so much. There is movement. There's still quite a long road ahead before we have any results, but these things take time. So that's about it from my end. So how about you, Joe? What's going on with you?
We had a good week in the community. Yesterday was the weekly developer chat. On Tuesday, we had a very nice conversation regarding storage rent and starting to think and consider more the long-term crypto economic security of the protocol, which is probably going to be an ongoing discussion, but it's something that's great to see community engagement and questions and different ideas in terms of the path forward. As a whole, we're kind of in the initial stages of speccing out 6.0. Our next major node milestone is going to include, potential features to support scaling, more on the base layer, potentially some new features. There's a lot there to potentially unpack. So it's really nice to see the community coming together and starting to have that conversation, because, long term, being a decentralized protocol, having that external feedback from developers and people throughout the ecosystem really just kind of builds the collective mind share and sets the long-term path forward for the network. We do have Alex on here. He's audio only today because, he got caught by Linux drivers, which is fun.
Right. So I think that's it's going great after all. So in the first place, after 5.0 activation, everything is working smooth. There were some glitches observed with the new EP37 rule, not followed sometimes by some applications and wallets, but it's pretty minor at the moment. And that's great news when everything is working smoothly these days, right? Because for many so-called blockchain projects in the space, we observe a complete shit show. There was a great community chat on Tuesday, and there will be another developers chat on EAPs tomorrow. We will discuss existing EIPs and we'll start a discussion around 6.0. What could be potentially included there, right? So there were a lot of proposals over the past 2 years even, right? So I will create some lists probably with things I can remember, and others will contribute, I'm pretty sure. For wallets, I see discussions about how to do applications in wallets, right, and different efforts doing progress there, such as Mosaic or Fleet. Maybe it's worth to discuss this in details in the dev updates, right? And in regards with Ergo Foundation, there are also some partnerships. We are discussing, and probably in coming weeks, they will be announced. All right. That's more or less it, and there will be a developer update on Sunday, right, as usually.
Yep.
All right. Well, that all sounds really exciting. And I guess then, let's get to the questions. Let's see. What do we got here? Okay, let's find a good question here. One from Wendy Muniz. Why is everybody wearing blue? Is this the AMA official dress code? I don't know, Joe. Are you blue? La-di-di-la-di-da?
Yeah, basically all of our women in the background, and then they dress us.
Yeah, they do. My wife dressed me, so talk to her about it. I don't really know what Kushti's wearing right now, because he's that's just a still of him. He could be wearing a beautiful pink dress. I do not know. That's so you could be screwing up our matchy stuff. Just
Yeah,
Not that type of
that's
video.
that's the power of anonymity. Yeah.
yeah. Well, that's that's our industry for you.
Dan, sorry, I have a question for you. So, will we have more AMAs this year? So, what we are doing on holidays? Let's think right now.
Yeah, I think next week, I'd say we'd have one more, and then we'd probably just kind of call it a year and pick up next year. What do you guys think?
I always say it's up to Andy. He's the magic that you coming, then I show up.
Yeah, Andy's the boss, really. Alex, I got to talk to him. Andy's the boss. That's right. I should be. I'm sorry, Andy. I didn't mean to, overstep my boundaries here. Please don't hurt me.
All right. So if the boss will allow, we can do kind of a year observation session.
Yeah, a year wrap up would be nice, I think. Absolutely. Had a fantastic year, so I think it would be really nice to wrap up AMA and then send everybody on their merry way, on their Merry Christmas way. All right. Let's see. Okay, so there is a question from Mr. Yasha Black himself, and this is for Joe. What is the strategy for onboarding new developers' businesses to the ecosystem? How do you plan to incentivize them?
Sure. Well, the first thing I would say in terms of the question is incentive is the wrong word. Most developers that let's say are in the blockchain space are looking for free money or subsidies, right? And the reality is there are too many ecosystems that are bigger and probably more desperate for an actual development community to where the actual subsidies that they offer are much larger than what we can compete with. So we have to start from kind of a balanced perspective. Now, what is the ultimate incentive for developers to come in and build on these ecosystems? It's profit oriented, right? And generally the best mechanism for bootstrapping new development is actually kind of creating an external competition for people to, let's say, come into a project early and potentially, have that same incentive and take on risk, right? So like, as a foundation, sure, we've gotten a lot of requests for grants, over time. The first thing that I always say is because we have public money, we kind of require public code. If somebody comes in and says, hey, I want you to subsidize my business, give me free money, and it's going to be a private enterprise, that makes no sense to spend the limited treasury that we have in that situation. Now, we do have tools like Raffle, Ergo Pad, and there's also, even other creative frameworks that projects can have in terms of fundraising. Now, over time, as Ergo grows, the open source, let's say, tools that we have, the frameworks expand. Over time, market access will grow, and that will naturally, let's say, increase our visibility as well as market access, and that will, increase the incentive that developers have to build on top of Ergo. But, if this idea is just subsidize things, that's dangerous. Because number one, you now have one party that has a significant advantage over, competing developers in the same area. And, that kind of leads to a certain cronyism in ecosystems. And I think if you look across projects, sometimes you see that where you have like, one project that is subsidized and comes in with a much larger advantage, and, then the market it just doesn't have equilibrium. So my opinion is for core infrastructure, sure, the Ergo Foundation is really happy to sponsor that. But in terms of, inheriting risk, we should push that to the community and say, okay, how do you incentivize the community to invest or be a part of what you're trying to build as a developer, because ultimately, going to kind of private enterprise rather than going for public money, I think is superior in that sense.
Yeah, that's a really good point. It's actually, as you said, it's kind of a dangerous paradigm that's been set in the industry about who's going to cut the bigger check for the bigger bunch of bullshit. It's basically one of the symptoms of a bull market bubble. What happens is, you have a lot of this really, really easy, easily attainable money. Well, because we are kind of making currencies here. So, you can go to a large blockchain and say, hey, give me a grant in your crypto. And yeah, they got a bunch of it. They made it. Yeah, of course, it's not unlimited, in some, but it's still a lot easier for them to do than a fair launch project like Ergo, where the project is community driven. There is no rich foundation behind this. There is no corporate behind it. It's all community driven, and that's what you get. You want decentralization, you got it. That's what happens. That's what happens in decentralized communities. You have to provide incentives that are community driven, and development is community driven. Tooling that has been developed in the Ergo ecosystem is community driven, and that's an incentive. That's a huge incentive. It's an incentive for me, for example, to build in the Ergo ecosystem, and for the Zengate team to build in the Ergo ecosystem. And of course, obviously, I am partial to the Ergo ecosystem because of my role in it. But as a business person, I look at the Ergo ecosystem, and it's attractive to me, not just because I have some sort of an emotional attachment to it, but because it's attractive to me from a fiscal standpoint and from a developmental standpoint. So fiscal, right? It's cheaper to do stuff in the Ergo ecosystem. It just is. NFTs, look, Palmyra is running an NFTs, and of course, in the future, there, when we get all this traffic in, and transactions start happening on the chain, and the chain grows, there might be a vote to raise prices, but it's still, I'm pretty convinced that the miners in the Ergo ecosystem are not going to vote to kill their business, so it's not going to skyrocket. Okay. It's still going to be economically viable and business economically viable for us to keep using and building on the Ergo blockchain. Aside from that, is the tooling. Is just so much tooling here, and it's so easily accessible, and it's just so straightforward that it's basically kind of like one of those goes into like a gun shop, goes in the back, and there's like a huge arsenal back there, and he just goes to like the Matrix. You got this huge arsenal. He just pick what you need for the battle. Pick what you need. That's what Ergo is to me. That's what Ergo is to us. There's just such a big arsenal of tooling that we just pick what we need and we use it. And again, to a business person, yeah, of course, loans are cool. Grants are nice. But there is a trade-off. Can I build Palmyra in a completely different ecosystem, even outside of Ergo or Cardano? Yeah, I could. Do I want to? No, because we have made a business decision that the Ergo and Cardano ecosystems are the most economically viable for us to build this business. And that's an incentive for us. Because it's just, we can do what we need to do, and we can do it in the most efficient and the most straightforward way. And look, again, this thing with grants, maybe other industries, I don't know. I'm not the all-seeing oracle of every single tech industry out there, but in the IT industry, this whole thing, hey, foundation, give me a grant thing it's kind of a crypto thing, it's kind of a blockchain thing. At least it's from my experience. During the .com boom, You didn't have like a startup going to Microsoft. Well, maybe they did once in a while, but going to some foundation or some company like Microsoft and say, hey, give me this money to build this in Microsoft. A lot of times these guys are like, okay, build it. We're not going to give you money. We're going to give you money. We're going to invest in your company. If you want to go the old school way, do an equity raise, build a business. Yeah, we'll do that. But we won't just kind of like give you straight money for tooling or straight money for tokens or whatever. It's kind of a new world, and it's like Joe, like getting back to what Joe said, it's kind of a bad paradigm because easy money is easily disrespected, I think, and that's why we have a lot of these, rug pulls and crashes happening, because money is a lot easier to come by. 10 years ago, $10 million wasn't as easy to come by as it is now, or it was, at least in the last bull run. And with that comes, great irresponsibility of people just kind of like saying, okay, well, we got this money. We don't really have that much of a fiduciary obligation for this money, because they think that they don't, this money just is for tokens, right? It's not really for equity a lot of times. And tokens, well, tokens go up, go down. It's a risk. And so they just don't feel the same, don't take me wrong. There's plenty of projects that understand responsibility, but those that I'm talking about, and which ones I'm talking about, the type of projects I'm talking about, they feel that a token raise is a way to avoid having the responsibility of creating a business with the traditional model of equity and equity rounds and investors and all this kind of stuff. And I think it's a discipline that we need to get back, or at least we need to promote a lot more as an ecosystem for us to survive long term. This is how we're building Zengate. This is how I hope that businesses in the ecosystem build themselves. They don't just rely straight on token raises and pie in the sky stuff, but it's more of a more hardcore commitment. They understand that nothing is free, money is not easy, and easy money is easily lost. That's just my rant on the subject.
I think that number one, it's way too easy to raise money in this space. Like if you were to go and try to get seed investing with half the ideas and nothing built in like the real world, you'd probably get laughed out of most meetings. Let's be honest.
Exactly.
And the second thing is, if you're going to start a business as an entrepreneur, you got to prepare for, I would say 2 to 5 years of little sleep, right? And that's like having a kid. This idea that, I should just have a good idea, raise a bunch of money, and then, half-ass maybe deliver something, maybe not, shouldn't fly. And, the crazy thing in this space is when you get these serial offenders that, raise money, never deliver anything, raise money, never deliver anything, raise money, never deliver anything. And, somehow they still attract liquidity. It's a little insane to me. What do you think, Alex? You've been in and around the space for a long time.
Right. So foundations greasing projects in our ecosystem. A period after Ethereum, I believe, so around 2017. And it's usually complete shit show, right? It's in the first place. It happens when distribution is centralized, right? So foundation is having a big chunk, right, to sponsor everything around. So it's basically like having a money printer, right? And you use that money printer to sponsor economy, right, in your ecosystem. But usually it's going to just totally corrupt rotten swamp. Right, and a lot of examples here. Well, already failed ecosystems. Maybe no need to call names, right? But they're widely known.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, for example, Terra, right? So, well, let's call some names. I mean, they did pretty big grants for building ecosystem around Terra, right? But we know what happened.
Yeah, the reality is Ergo is too small to compete with that type of cronyism. And that cronyism in and of itself creates a ton of inefficiencies in the end, in my opinion.
And in the end, I mean, look at these ecosystems. I mean, they implode. It's not sustainable. You can't just print. You can't be a money printer and expect to have a sustainable long arc of development. It's not going to happen. This is why I am so passionate Ergo, is because we don't have that. We kind of, quote unquote, screwed ourselves out of that with the fair launch. We don't have that problem because we don't have that kind of money. We can't dump money at people and hey, here's $20, $30 million. Build us stuff. Make us look cool. Let's buy some TVL. Let's do that. We need $1 billion of TVL. How much is that going to cost? Then it's a good thing. To me, that's a good thing. To me, it makes the ecosystem more genuine.
And for investors in cryptocurrencies, right? So it's hard to understand why they could prefer bad money, right? Which are sponsoring its own corruption. Eventually, it's pretty obvious that good money drives out bad.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's move on to the next question here. We got a few. Let's see. Let's see what's a nice question. Okay. This is actually a nice question here. What might be the best way to start working towards a career that involves working on adoption implementation protocols like Ergo into other outside industries? Have some ideas. I guess this person has some ideas in the field. What do you think, Joe? What would be a good way to kind of get involved without really deep diving into the ecosystem per se?
Well, I think the first thing that somebody would want to do if they have an idea is communicate that idea to other people, right? Especially if it's something that they're not too involved directly with the industry. There are a lot of ideas, number one, that sound good in kind of the mind, and then you bootstrap them in reality and you hit all kinds of problems. And it's good to have assistance there in terms of, what is practical and what is just exciting, but not practical. Because, when I look at a lot of solutions in the blockchain industry, I really question the practicality of some to start. And that's not to say it's a bad idea, but it's a good idea to, I don't know. I think one of the best pieces of advice I can give anybody in life is know when and where you're stupid and ask for help. But when you ask for help, make sure that you find someone that knows what they're talking about. And that's a great place to start when you have an idea and you're like, okay, well, this is the idea. Is it practical? If it's practical and it's a good idea, you may just find people latch onto it. They say, hey, that's a good idea. I want to be a part of that, or I want to help, spec that out. I want to help design it. Now in the Ergo ecosystem, we do have a pretty nice open community to where if people start to discuss ideas, there's quite a few that contribute to that. Now, in terms of let's say, taking that from an idea and trying to convert it into something, we do have Ergo hacks, and that kind of does act as an idea incubator in a way, to where people will kind of spend more time, energy, attention for the potential to earn a prize. And a lot of, let's say, the development and ideas in our ecosystem have started that way. You can look at Excel as an example, which was initially Ergo Lend. That started as a hackathon project. I was pretty happy to play around with their private testing this week. So, it's actually converted from somebody that came in with a good idea, went to a hackathon, and developed a certain small group around it, and then developed a community around it, and has kind of been growing from there as the idea, is being built out. So that's where I would start. And, if there's traction, if it's a good idea, you might be surprised at the level of support and assistance that comes, because a good idea at the end of the day is a good idea. And if there's an incentive there, if kind of the business logic of it makes sense, people will support that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, business is business. So it's like Joe said, you have an idea, you develop the idea, you do market analysis, you do studies, you do a pilot, see if it works. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. The more you do it, the more sense you get for what works and what doesn't in what ecosystem, and that's how you create successful businesses. As the late great Walter Matthau said, I don't remember the exact quote, but it was something along the lines of, to make it in showbiz, all you need is 40 lucky breaks. Well, to make it in business, you kind of need the same. 40 ideas are going to be shit. One idea is going to be great, and that's the one that's going to take you to the next level. And then out of the next 10, only 5 are going to be shit, and so on and so forth. So that's just kind of my my opinion on the matter of doing business in any ecosystem, not just blockchain. What do you think, Alex?
I pretty much agree. There are a lot of possible ways, right, to apply blockchain to make business around. The Ergo, for example, CQSD, right? So there are some guys running shops with merchandise, and actually it's quite awesome, right? So we can, for example, reward contributors now with gift certificates denominated in CQSD, which is valuable for everyone. So for developers contributing, then for shop owners, right? Then for CQSD community, and so for the whole Ergo ecosystem. And I think there are a lot of pretty small businesses which are doable, right?
Yep, absolutely. Okay, there was a question here about dexy. I'm still there was a question here that somebody asked about Zengate using the dexy framework. Can't find where this. There it is, highlighted in green on my screen. Okay, so does Zengate have plans to use dexy for Palmyra at all, or is it another plan altogether? Seems like it could possibly be a good fit for the upcoming dexy framework. Actually, we have discussed this about as far as form of payment inside the platform, building on dexy, also accepting other cryptos and other stable coins. This is definitely something we've been discussing. And so once we have once we deep dive into the on-off ramps, instant settlements, and payments, which is basically what we're starting to do right now, we will understand more about how we can use dexy. But yeah, it's definitely something that we've been looking into. Let's see. And so, there's a question here. Friedman, how many inches did you grow in the past week? Damn it. I grew 3 inches sideways. The food in Sri Lanka is really good. And I also learned to eat with my hands. It's not as easy as it looks. Well, it's not as easy to eat with your hands and not look like a toddler. So that was also a nice thing to learn. Let's see. Okay, there's a good question. So for Alex, is Ergo script like a programming language for DFA? And there's also a follow-up question. What is the purpose of a verifier using NIPO protocol on a phone, and what is an example?
All right. What is DFA? By the way?
Yeah, I think it has to do with determinism in terms of finite state machines. So I think he's asking. Yeah.
So is it about how to implement finite state machines in Ergo script?
I think so.
Yeah, so it's in my plan. So, well, as I said before, there is a code which can be found in the Sigma State repository from 2018, and it's implementing, Merkleized finite state machines. But it's done in Ergo 3 even, so kind of assembly language of the blockchain. And so for Ergo script version, I need to write code and publish it. So I have a plan, but there are some other writings to finish and publish as well. So let's see. And the second question.
So the follow-up question is, what is the purpose of a verifier using NIPO protocol? Yeah. What is an example?
All right. Yeah. So currently, mobile wallets are trusting an Explorer instance, right? And even worse, usually, the instance which is provided by the Ergo Foundation, right? So this is trust issue, and it's common for all the mobile wallets. And so with NIPO, it's possible to build mobile wallets which are checking chain validity, right? So basically checking working in SPV mode, right? So even if they do trust nodes, right, or Explorer instance, so they can ask for proofs and check them. As I know, there is something in development. We discussed that actually recently in devs chats. But I'm not quite sure about current state of that. So maybe it's worth to make a community or developers chat about the current state of NIPO implementation in wallets.
Okay. Great. So I wanted to actually address this question that popped up a couple of times. So let's see. Okay. So this is a question. There was a couple of questions from FC regarding what we're talking about as far as fundraising, and responsible fundraising versus irresponsible fundraising and whatnot, using tokens versus equity. And so FC said that don't your statements damn ErgoPad. And so, and the second one is honestly, ErgoPad is at odds with prior statements, correct? Isn't it just skirting fundraising laws? Perhaps I'm missing something. So let me make this clear. I am absolutely not talking about ErgoPad. ErgoPad is doing it right. ErgoPad is doing token raises right. And let me kind of clarify something here. I'm not saying that token raises are inherently evil, that all token raises are inherently evil. Obviously, you need, in some of these ecosystems, you need tokens. You need them. You need to create a market for the tokens. So, if you want to have a sale for the tokens, sometimes some businesses, like for example Zengate, with the Palmyra platform, we're doing an equity raise, and we're also going to be doing a token raise down the line. Now they're not going to be running simultaneously, because at this point we can work with other tokens and other cryptos in the ecosystem for payments. However, we do have plans to eventually have a token for Palmyra, and when those plans mature, we have been talking to Marty and ErgoPad to potentially work with them during the token raise. It all comes down to responsibility. First of all, are you creating a token that has a utility in your ecosystem? Or are you just basically, you could create a token that really does have utility, that does raise, could create a monetary market within your ecosystem. Or you could be just basically using it as an alternate fundraising tool. And again, and the latter is again not inherently evil. You could do that the right way. It just all depends on how you do it and what kind of responsibilities, what kind of precautions you take during the raise, and what really is the raise about. What is this token about? Because the problem is with a lot of projects in the whole blockchain ecosystem is they'll raise a token just to raise money, or they'll mint a token just to raise money, or they'll create a coin just to raise money. Well, more tokens than coins, of course. Coins that take a lot more effort to create separate L1 blockchains, but and yeah, that's not healthy in my opinion. But when your token really does have utility, it really does have use besides numbers go up, then there's nothing wrong with that, as long as you're responsible and as long as you have a well thought out plan of utility. So yeah, just wanted to kind of put that in there, and like I said, make it clear that not all tokens are created equal.
It's a good discussion to have. The first thing I can say about ErgoPad is I think they're building things the right way in terms of, they've been very transparent. They've pushed for open source code, not only for them, but for projects that they sponsor. But then you kind of have to look at it from the other side, right? The, let's say, journey of converting something from an idea to like actual implementation or reality. That is a lot more challenging than most people assume, right? And if you're going to, let's say, participate in bootstrapping a new project or an idea, I have to ask the question: Are you going to engage as kind of like a community member around that project? Are you going to assist in some way? Is this going to be a actual decentralized effort to build something, or is this just going to be you buy a token, you sit back, and then say soon, when is the number going up, right? There's a lot of, the whole point of that is distribution. It's to get community engagement and bootstrap a peer-to-peer idea. And so, like, if you're going to participate in that, participate in it, is my opinion, because, you're like an active member of that little sub-community that you're creating. And then there's a lot of people that just look at it from like a purely speculative like space where they're like, oh, I bought this and I want something to happen, so do something for me, right? Carry your own weight. That's what I would say. Now, in terms of like skirting fundraising laws, that depends on your jurisdiction. One thing that, it's kind of sad is Americans love to think that they are the world, right? Put ourselves in the middle of the map and cut Asia in half. And the reality is, like, blockchains probably offer more value in terms of a technology to underdeveloped areas than they do to, developed economies, because we already have a ton of competing products. We already have a ton of market access. We already have, more than most in the world. Now, if you look at like the ability for somebody that's in a underdeveloped jurisdiction to potentially stake ownership in a business, or, have that type of access to international markets, I think that's a great thing. But, in my mind, when it comes to that type of bootstrapping, I would recommend you look at the idea behind it. You look at whether the person has had any history in terms of open source development, whether they're transparent. But remember, you're not necessarily an investor in crypto. You are a peer, ideally. And so are you going to carry your own weight as a peer, or are you going to be sitting back doing nothing and complaining? And, I think that's the wrong approach. I think that mindset, is kind of this security mindset, versus if it's more of looking at it as an actual decentralized project or endeavor, then everybody should engage. What do you think, Alex?
Right. So in the first place, I think it's people, right, who are doing bad things, not the fundraising tooling. For example, Ethereum ICO was very shady according to modern standards, right? But we have actual products delivered, and I guess, ICO participants are happy, right, with the decision made about participating in the ICO in the past. So in the traditional worlds of VC funding, right, so it's not uncommon to have checks signed just our lunch, right, with very informal commitments if there is trust, right, to a team, to founders. In regards with Ergo pods, we are talking about statistics, right? So there are certain observations we can make observing a lot of success and failures in the space, right? And we can try to do something, and ErgoPod is actually doing something. So, for example, they are doing vesting, right, for all the projects as well, and that's trendy, right, measure to avoid blatant scams and rug pulls. I mean, it's not working all the times, obviously, but can improve statistics, right? And I think they're trying to do their best, right, to improve statistics. But again, so it's about teams delivering or not, after all, right? So. How much damage they could make in case of non-delivery, and what's the best way to help with deliveries, deliverables. I think ErgoPod is actually doing great, and it's a very modern approach, right?
Yeah.
Well, considering experience we got from the past, from previous years. And this year was very insightful, let's say, but also painful, right, for many investors in the space.
Yep, it has personally as well. But we don't think about things like that because you got to think about the long term. And I am bullish on the long term. Okay, and so we got time for one last question. And so this is an interesting question from Hermit Crab. Can Ergo provide a network security for businesses using the hash power network? Why don't you take that one? Or Alex?
Yeah, so I think there are a few things to talk here, right? So in the first place, it's possible to launch merged mined chain, right, or side chain. So for side chains, design considerations eventually, maybe next year. All right, and there are also some things which could be done on application level. So, for example, FIMO, fair initial mining offering for fair distribution of tokens. So this already made, and there are other ways to utilize Ergo hash power for different applications. So I actually made a video published recently for the last Micro Summit. So please check it.
What are your thoughts, Joe?
Oh, in terms of using network security for business, in getting into let's say the initial idea behind SNISPs and the potential markets that you could build on top of actual decentralized mining. Oh man, that's a big green field, right? That we haven't even opened the gate for. I know that cheese enthusiasts and Rob have been, kind of building an idea, but I'm going to leave it to them to bring that to the community and talk about, what that might look like. But I think there's a big area to explore there. Proof of work in terms of like Stratum really hasn't changed that much since 2012, 2013. I don't even remember. It's too long ago. But it's certainly an area that I think is ripe for innovation and disruption. So I'm excited to see where that concept goes.
Yeah, absolutely. Same here. Okay, guys. Well, I think, we have a couple of minutes. Let me see. Is there something quick and fun that we can answer? Let's see. Okay. So this is actually a nice sentiment to leave off the discussion, and we could just kind of chime in on this. It's not a question, more of a statement. But a fair launch may take longer to build our foundation, but our foundation will be solid. Build on real progress. Absolutely. Like I said, we don't have Luna problems or these big blockchain problems where they basically just kind of give out big fat checks to have progress or TVL or whatever other BS that they want, they think they can buy. All the progress that has happened on Ergo has been organic, and the strength of the community and the strength of the platform itself is a testament to that, to that organic growth. Just like, well, look, okay, and again, I don't like to really, crap on other blockchains or other projects unless they really deserve it, but and I don't think this is crapping on them, but say Solana, for example, Solana, Solana's becomes kind of a special type of blockchain in the past few months because of their various new of quirks and whatnot. And I'll tell you the truth. Solana, when they just started, I actually thought it was kind of cool. I thought that they might have had a good idea. It could have developed into something good with enough time, with enough organic growth. Instead, what happened was it just caught on and people started dumping money into it and the price just blew up and all this money appeared out of nothing. And, and then it just started to artificially inflate. And, you see the results of that. The reason I bring it up is because, like I said, I actually back in the day, and when my friends and colleagues can attest to that, I was saying that this is just when Solana got started. I was saying, hey, these guys might have something. This might be something interesting. But as soon as it started blowing up, I knew it was, at least in my eyes, it was over. It was just too much success too early on for really just not much actual substance. Ergo is the opposite. Ergo, we have lots of substance, and all of our success was begotten strictly by organic growth. We haven't had anybody pump billions of dollars into our ecosystem. We haven't had any, loud and beefy partnerships that are supposed to make numbers go up. Like, we sign a deal with Nike, we sign a deal with this. And I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying that we haven't had it. We just had growth because we've been building. The ecosystem has been building, and that is sustainable. And when Ergo is up in the top 10, it's going to be because we got there organically, because we got there by building. And it's just a matter of time in my eyes. What do you think, Joe?
No, I remember back in the day when the idea behind a pre-mine was very controversial because it was opposed to this idea of distribution through work or some sort of let's say equal chance or risk, right? And then that really shifted to where then it was like, oh, well, we should give seniorage to developers. And, that was a pretty controversial, idea at the time because it was kind of opposed to this concept of fair distribution and distribution without work and giving a certain select group seniorage. And yeah, now it's become more and more and more and more of a popular concept because I don't know, it leans towards easy money and money printing. Proof of work in and of itself, that's one of the benefits, in my opinion, is that you have the cost of production and things are fairly, let's say, distributed based on work. But yeah, that's kind of an older concept, and then things kind of became about tokens and project tokens, and it kind of was downhill from, I think, where it started in terms of really looking at things on a high level and saying, okay, well, what is fair distribution? What is work? And how can we kind of make that a fair system? What do you think, Alex? You've been around a while, kind of seen that change.
Right, but my bad, I've forgotten the question. So, yeah. So
there isn't really a question. It's just basically about, just about the organic growth of the Ergo ecosystem and how, although a fair launch is harder to kind of get momentum for, it's built to last. The ecosystem is built to last.
Yeah, I see. But yeah, so it's growing, right? Unlike well, for example, Solana, right? So well, it was discovered well after the bull run already that the TVL was so sorry, maybe my sound was lost, right? For half a minute. So yeah, Solana TVL was mostly faked, right? And yeah, I suspect that was the case during the bull run for most of so-called blockchain projects. And yeah, and well, in case of Ergo, that wasn't the case because there were no even money printers, right, subsidizing, how was it called, liquidity farming.
Yeah.
Right, so I mean, then it's totally natural. Right, and yeah, and also in case of Solana, it seems that well, developers just faked, right? And yeah, in case of projects with liquidity farming, yeah, so it was often the case that yeah, VCs invested into a project actually well, faked, right, liquidity actually. So they did trade initially with each other, right, to draw good statistics and then dump on retail.
Yes.
Yeah, right. So it's kind of liquidity pre-mine actually, right? So.
Yeah.
And yeah, also with well, token grab they did before the launch.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, and well, I don't know well anything like that here in Ergo.
No, and there isn't. All right. Well, thanks a lot, guys, for your feedback on that. Yeah, so I think it's a good place to wrap things up. And yeah, and in case you've been wondering what I'm looking at, this guy has been clawing at my rather expensive blue sweater. This is, you know, I know you guys haven't seen Leo for a while, but here he is. He's doing his job. He's doing his job. So just FYI. That's I'm not just crazy, okay? I'm not just like randomly looking at stuff and not paying attention to you guys. All righty. Well, so yeah, thanks a lot for joining. And we will all see you, I guess, if the boss allows. This is not the boss. This is my boss. But our boss, Andy, allows us. We will do one more year wrap-up AMA next week. So we will see you then. Bye-bye.
Everybody.